So when you do things like meditate, which when someone suggested that to Jerry and Esther, they said, what? Sounded so weird to them. They were business people. They didn't want that weirdness in their life. Made them think of walking on hot coals and sleeping on beds of nails, and the man at the airport standing on one foot with his hand out for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And Esther said, meditate, what do you mean? Sit in a quiet room and wear comfortable clothing and focus on your breathing. And when your mind wanders, and it will, release the thought and focus on your breathing. So they did. They went home, put on comfortable clothing, put on their bathrobes, closed the curtains, sat in these wingback chairs, because it was embarrassing to do such a weird thing together. Etagere between them, focused on breathing. And right away, Esther felt the detachment from focusing only on her breathing. In other words, when she no longer was focusing on anything that was resistant in nature, her vibration raised, and she came into vibrational alignment with us. She didn't know it, but she did it in that very first moment of meditation. For 9 months, Jerry and Esther sat and meditated, and nothing happened that was very significant past that first day when she felt us breathe her, powerfully breathe her. So 9 months they meditated, and then she's sitting there one day, 15 minutes a day was all, and her nose began moving around. Was like flying in her detached state. She couldn't really feel her foot from her nose. She just was sort of like a nebulous being. She wasn't in her body so much. She wasn't out of her body. She just sort of felt detached from everything. And suddenly she realized that she was spelling the alphabet with her nose. Well, we had been offering blocks of thought to her for months, but she wasn't expecting to receive blocks of thought from source. So it wasn't until we started writing like chalk on a chalkboard. She said to Jerry, I'm spelling the alphabet with my nose. Jerry got his notebook. He knew something was up. So what we want you to understand is you don't have to spell with your nose on a chalkboard. You have source flowing to you. And when you get into vibrational vicinity and source has this knowing that is being presented to you, when you are in the vicinity of it, you will receive that revelation. But more important and better said, you will be able to translate it. You will realize it into something meaningful. And the first thing that happens is you'll receive a thought. That's the first stage of the turning of the vibration into things. It's the thought occurs to you, and right with the thought comes an emotional response. And when you're tuned in, like Esther was, not even realizing it, she was tuned in because, hear this, she wasn't tuned out. It's like a cork bobbing on the surface of the water. Let's call that tuned in. Hold it under the water, that's not tuned in. Let go of it, it'll bob right back up. In other words, you don't have to work for your alignment. Just stop doing that thing you do that keeps you from alignment. That complaining or that haranguing or that blaming or that guilting. So you receive the thought and then you receive the emotion. Feels so simultaneous. And then if you are able to find a way of practicing the vibrational frequency of the belief of your desire, then more and more things will occur. Universal forces will come into place. Rendezvous will occur. More co-creation with more others until you will be the absolute, no exception, full realizer, receiver of anything that you have desired. If this time-space reality has the wherewithal to inspire within you a desire, it has the wherewithal to deliver it to you in fullness. And as you look around, there are plenty of those who are receiving plenty of realizations of plenty of things that they want, but you're just getting started. This is the time of awakening. This is the time when more of you are coming into vibrational alignment with who you really are. It's the time when you are returning to the fullness of who you are, to that joyous being, to that fun-loving being, to that happy, expectant, positive being that you were when you were born, that you are meant to be. And it's not a difficult road back into that kind of alignment. We're eager to talk with you about anything that matters to you. There is nothing that is off limits here. You will notice the perfect unfolding. Sometimes you'll have your hand up and we won't call specifically on you, but we'll ask someone else to the hot seat who will have the same thing to talk about that you want to know about, and you will hear it more easily from there than from there. It is our promise that anything that is active within you that you are wanting to understand, we will talk about fully to your satisfaction. The important thing to understand is that the better you feel and the more expectant you are of receiving the answer, the more likely you are to receive it. We're going to have a wonderful day here today. It is our knowing that not only will we satisfy what you've come to know about, that together we can feel who you are. We'll take thought beyond that which it has been before, because this group of physical and non-physical has never been before unto all of the universe. We are unique in our coming together, in our focus, in our vibrational soup. Good things are about to happen today. What do you want to talk about? Really good. You've come with things. There's a lot of trouble in this room.
Hello. I can fix it. I'm a sound engineer. All right, there we go.
That was really good.
Thanks. I'd like to thank you, and one of my favorite YouTubers, Dewdrop157. I guess I have a question about the aging process. It has to do with physical healing, and my question is, how do we stop and reverse the aging process?
Next. Well, it's helpful. Just the words aging process exhibits a belief in decline. And so the fact that it has a label and that you are offering it so easily, the aging process, how do we stop the inevitable aging process, was sort of what you were saying. And the answer to that is you can't under those conditions, because the belief won't let it happen. In other words, it's the belief in decline that is the reason for the aging process. Now, if you're being really logical and you're thinking about moving through time and you're connecting age with moving through time, then you would say, don't really want to stop the aging process. You didn't when you were 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Luke is 9. He would really not like it if the aging process stopped with him. What? I have to be 9 years old forever? So you don't want to stop moving through time, but we can see how you would want to no longer decline. And the way you stop the declining, we're not even going to call it a process. The way you maintain your robustness is by going to the well for refueling on a really regular basis. And so it's about alignment. It's about alignment. It's about resourcing with source. Most people, we can give this to you so easily. Most of you, we love you so much. Most of you, especially a group like this, teachers to the core of your being in so many cases, healers, you are uplifters. You want so much to be of value to others. And in your desire to be of value to others, you sort of stand in this attitude of service. And by that we mean trying to make it better for them, trying to make it better for them, trying to make it better for them. And in your somewhat futile attempt to make it better for them, because it's not your job to make it better for them. Everyone is hardwired to this energy stream. Often in that trying to be the path of least resistance for someone else, you get depleted yourself, and it's that source energy depletion that causes tiredness. Well, let's say it in the order that it happens. It causes resistance, and resistance slows things down. You know that from your understanding of your physics here in this time-space reality. You want to slow something down, put some friction or some resistance. And of course, resistance is helpful. If there were not resistance in your electrical circuitry, you would not be able to harness it and utilize it in the way that you want to. You don't really even understand the source that electricity really is, but you've figured out how to put a sort of damper on it to keep it from blowing out all your circuits, so to speak. And so it's really about understanding this energy that is flowing to you and through you, and managing it in a way that you don't ask for more than you allow. And that's what happens with most people. Life is doing just what you knew it would. To break it into 3 steps is a little silly, in the sense that you are eternal beings constantly evolving. But 3 basic steps in the beginning of understanding this relationship with energy. The first step is contrast causes you to identify something that you want. That asking is that first step. And then source holds the vibrational frequency of what you've asked for, but you've got to find a way of allowing that into your experience. And so that's why an understanding of vibration, an understanding of emotion, an understanding of how you feel is important. It's at the very heart of this important question that you ask here. Because so many of you, life causes you to know what you don't want, and therefore to launch these rockets of what you do want. So you're launching rockets, you're asking, and source, the inner being, non-physical part of you, becomes immediately, each new addendum, each new amendment that you offer of your desire, source becomes it and calls you toward it. And when you don't go, there's resistance. So your very living of life and you're asking for more is the reason that what you are calling the declining happens. And it's only because you don't go with the flow of who you are. It's like life saying to you, life is supposed to be fun, and source knowing that, and then you saying, but what about the starving children? And even though there are starving children, your attention to them is contradictory to the intent and the understanding of source. It's like saying, I really want to be more prosperous, but I hardly know anybody who is. So you are resisting your own desire for financial success by the reality that you are observing, and you are putting tension, vibrational tension, into your vibrational equation, which is really hard on your physical apparatus. You know the difference between being lighthearted and being heavy-hearted. You know the difference between feeling excited and free and easy and eager and feeling downtrodden and overwhelmed. You know the difference between the day you get up to go fishing and the day you get up to go to work. In other words, it doesn't have to be that way, but you have these habits of thoughts, and so you are introducing all kinds of unnecessary resistance into your equation, all under the justification of facing reality. You don't want to be a dreamer. You don't want to be unreal. You don't want to be too unrealistic. And we say, we don't want you to face reality. We want you to create reality. And there's a certain amount of facing reality that is part of creating reality, but you do it way more than you need to. You spend way more time in the noticing of what is, and not nearly enough time in the anticipation of what's coming. And in the process of what feels like natural day-to-day stuff for you, you introduce unnecessary resistance into your equation, and then you accept what you feel is the inevitable, natural decline. And we want to say to you, it is not inevitable and it is not natural, but it is normal for humans, because most have forgotten who they really are and how energy flows. And most of all, you have forgotten that you are supposed to feel good.